Take a look at let's take a look at page 42. We're on Parshas Noach. There are a few interesting points here. So, take out page 42. So now they have the flood, and they're in there for a year, and now it's time to come out. And then it says like this: Vayu b'nei Noach hayotzi min hateva. 5 lines on the bottom. Shem v'Cham v'Yefes. V'Cham hu avi Canaan. Cham is the father of Canaan. Now that's already out of place over here. Why are you telling me that Cham is the father of Canaan? So we're going to see that Canaan does something, is going to get cursed. Canaan is going to get cursed by Noach. And the Mefarshim understand that the Torah is telling you that Cham's behavior is a result of Canaan's influence. That's why it mentions Canaan stands out over here. So first it mentions the names. Then it says like this: Shlosha Eila b'nei Noach u'me'ila nafza chol haaretz. These are the 3 sons of Noach, and the entire world spread from them. Then the Torah says like this. Now this is very strange. Vayachal Noach isha adama. Noach became a man of the earth. Vayita karam. He plants a vineyard. And what happens? Vayesh min hayayin vayishkar. He drinks the wine, gets drunk. Vayiskal b'socholo, and he's lying naked in the tent. So you would have expected Noach, who's a navi, Noach's a prophet. And it sounds like he's just a drunk buffoon. Comes out of the teva and yeehaw, let's tie one on. We're just in there for a year. Let's tie. What's going on over here? So the plain meaning is that Vayochal Noach ish adama. There's an implied criticism. Noach became a man of the earth. You came out of the teva, and that's the first thing you do is you get, or page 42. You come out of the teva, the first thing you got nothing better to do than get involved in agriculture. And the Torah describes it as Isha Adama because that's the nature of agriculture. Agriculture is addictive. When the farmers, agriculture, you're married to the earth. These guys get up at the crack of dawn and they work. It's a full day, and it's a labor of love, but it's a labor of addiction. You're addicted to the earth. You're married to the earth. So he becomes an Ish. Otherwise, it should just say Vayochel Noach Vayita Karim. He plants a vineyard. Why does he call him an Isha Adama? It's emphasizing you got involved in material pursuit. That's at a certain level. Then he goes and drinks. Now that doesn't make, okay, so he drinks wine. We all know what happens when you drink wine. But then you go and you're lying naked in the tent. That's what happens. You're lying naked in the tent. So I saw a stunning commentary. One of the Farshim says, Noach believed that after the flood, that the world had gone back to the state of Adam Harishon Kodam Achet, Adam before the sin. What was Adam's sin? What was the fruit of Adam's sin? So there are different opinions. There are 3 opinions in the Gemara. There's one opinion that it was a grape. There's one opinion that it was a wheat. And there's one opinion it was a fig. Then there's another opinion in the Midrash. The Midrash says it was an esrog. So there are 4 different opinions. But the standard, it was either a fig or a grape. Now if it was a grape, so there is an opinion that Noach actually took grapes. Not Noach, sorry. Adam Harishon. Adam took grapes, squeezed them, and made wine out of it. And that was the original sin, was with wine, squeezed from the grapes. So it's a good question exactly how, where does she come into the picture? Exactly whether she took a bite of it or made it. But it says that he squeezed grapes. And one of the Mefarshim says that the reason we make Kiddush, his flaw was not even the drinking. His flaw was that he drank it without making Kiddush. It was Friday, and then one of the reasons we make Kiddush Friday night is to rectify the original sin of Adam drinking the wine. So it's like, why do women light candles? Why do women light candles? To rectify the sin of Chava, because she extinguished God's flame. She brought death to the world. You didn't know that, did you? Yeah, you'll find out. She extinguished that man is called Ner, the Pasuk says, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam. God's flame is man's soul. And so she extinguished, when she brought death to the world, symbolically she extinguished the flame. So when women, that's why the mitzvah of lighting candles is specifically for the women. The women, a man who's not married, then he's alone, so he does light candles. And it even says in halacha, if a man sees his wife is running late, and the man should light the candles, but don't ever do that. Don't ever light the candles. So make sure your wife lights the candles. By the way, there's an interesting halacha. If a woman forgets to light the candle, she has to add a candle. She has to add a candle for the rest of her life. She has to add a candle. So we had once, it was Hanukkah. So we lit the Hanukkah menorah. And I said, "Good Shabbos," I go off to shul. And I came back, and I'm waiting for my kids to come home. They went to a different shul. I come home, and my wife is sitting, she's sitting on the couch. I'm sitting across from her, we're schmoozing. And all of a sudden, she looks past me, and she goes, "I forgot to ben shlucht." And I look back, I said, "Oh," because she never ben, she didn't light the candle. I said, "Oh, what happened was, because we lit the Hanukkah candles, so she did just, candles got lit type of thing." So I said, "Oh, probably because of the Hanukkah." And she's just looking, she didn't hear a word I said. She says, "I forgot to ben shlucht." I go, yeah, it happens. I forgot to ben shlucht. That's the difference between men and women. Men like, "Yeah, okay, all right, we'll get it next week." And she's like, "I forgot to ben shlucht." The next week, the next week she was lighting candles, and not only that, the next year when we lit Hanukkah candles, so she doesn't even come into the room. I go in a different room to light the candles. She stands at the door by the Shabbos candles, watching me light the Hanukkah candles, and she's not gonna make that mistake again. So I asked the posek. Actually, I asked the posek if that's considered, because let's say it was an onus. Let's say it was circumstances beyond your control. Then she doesn't have to add a candle. So I asked the posek if circumstances, if that would be considered circa, because it was because she got mixed up. It wasn't that she forgot. She got mixed up because of the Hanukkah candle. He goes, no. So we light an extra candle every week. Now, if I make a calculation, how long she's been doing this, and one candle per week, how much money that's cost me? I wonder how much it comes out. Let's see, 50 candles a year. By 7 years, 350 candles. Hey, that's some serious scratch right there. So there is one unfortunate says that Adam Marisha, that when we do make Kiddush, we're actually rectifying that sin. Okay, be that as it may. Noach believed when they came out of the Teva that they had gotten to the state of Adam Harishon before the sin. And that's why he said, Ish ha'adama. Ish ha'adama, what's the root of ha'adama is Adam. That he's a man like Adam, and therefore he could drink wine, and therefore he could lie naked, because like Adam before the sin. That's what unfortunately says that. So it makes no sense that Noach. Okay, the plain meaning is that Noach drank, and he got soused, and he was lying there naked. Then what happens? Vayar Cham avi Canaan. Cham, the father of Canaan. Again, it ascribes Cham to Canaan, which already told us. And again, it's emphasizing the influence of Canaan on Cham.
So his son on him?
Apparently, the son was somehow, according to Rav Hirsch, Canaan was the one who apparently noticed it, then told his father. Vayar Cham avi Canaan. Canaan was the one who put his father onto it. Eser vasaviv vayaged lishnei echav b'chutz. So Cham goes and sees the nakedness of his father, and he goes and tells his brothers. So what does Shem and Yefes do? Vayikach Shem v'Yefes es hasibla. Now it says it in singular. It doesn't say vayikchu. It says vayikach Shem v'Yefes in the singular, because Shem was the one who initiated it, and Yefes joined on. So the credit is going to Shem, but Yefet, to his credit, Yefet did join in. But the one who took the initiative was Shem. We'll see the significance in a second. Vayikach Shem v'Yefes es hasimla, vayasimla Shem shneim. They put on their shoulders. Vayelchu achoronis. They walked backwards. Vayechasu es ervas avim. They covered their father's nakedness. Upeneim achoronis v'ervas avim lo ro. They didn't see their father. Now, if you take a look at Rashi for a second. The third line of Rashi, third line from the top, right column. Vayikach Shem v'Yefes. Ein ksiv vayikchu el vayikach. It doesn't say vayikchu, it says vayikach. You see where that is? Limed al Shem. It teaches regarding Shem, shenis amitz b'mitzvah yoser miyefes. He applied himself in this mitzvah more than Yefes. I'm going to tell you a real shocker here in a second. Lakach zochu banov letalis shel tzitzis. Therefore, the descendants of Shem merited that we wear tzitzis, because the Jewish people come from Shem, and we're going to be wearing tzitzis. And the command of tzitzis is a reward for Shem for what he did over here. The Yefes zacha lekvura lebanov. Yefes merited burial for his children. Shenemar eten legog makom sham kever. His descendants, 400 years later, are going to be buried, which is a merit to not be left out. Now, the Cham shebizeh zaviv, Cham who disgraced his father. Nemar bezaro keninag melachashur eshevi mitzrayim ves golus kush darm to the Canaan orum v'yachef. They're going to be let off. His descendants will be let off into slavery, naked and barefooted. And the pasuk in Yeshaya. The point here is like this. He took the initiative. So what do the Jewish people bear it now for throughout history? You get tzitzis. Tzitzis is compared to mitzvah. The Gemara says tzitzis is keneged the entire Torah. You get an incredible reward for the mitzvah of tzitzis. That means millions of Jews will be getting eternal reward. Millions of Jews through history will be getting eternal reward, because every mitzvah is eternal, because of one action that Shem did, that he took the initiative to cover up the father. Yefes, you joined in. You didn't take the initiative. You get rewarded. What's the reward? Your descendants will be, they'll merit to be buried. They won't leave their bodies out over the earth. So you see what a mitzvah is, what initiative in a mitzvah is. Meriting for millions of people eternity throughout the generations. That's the first lesson over here. Okay. Now, by the way, I told you there was an incident. There was a bacher in a yeshiva. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. I might have mentioned it. There's a bacher in a yeshiva, an FFB. And this FFB he was not motivated. So he left the yeshiva. He said to Rosh Yeshiva, the learning is not for me. And he left the yeshiva, and he comes back 2 weeks later. And he comes into the base medrash, and he sits down and he starts learning. Rosh Yeshiva saw him, he didn't say anything. The next day he comes back, he starts learning again, and he doesn't take his eye. He sat there learning a whole day. Come back the third day, and again he's learning like a house on fire. Finally, the Rosh Yeshiva came to me. He said to him, "Yitzchak, what happened? You left here. You were unmotivated. Now you're learning like a machine. What happened?" He says, "Rebbe, I'll tell you. I was driving around all over the place, and one day last week I was in Geula, right here in Geula, and I heard yelling, and I looked over, and I saw that there was some girl got out of a cab, and she was yelling at the cab driver. Apparently, he was overcharging her or something. She didn't agree with the price. So I heard this yelling, and I turned around. And I saw she slammed the door, and the cab drove off. But the problem was she was wearing some sort of wraparound thing, which got caught in the door of the cab. And it left her in a very awkward situation. And, she's just standing there in the middle of the street. And all of a sudden, I see two yeshiva guys come running over. They took their jackets off, and they ran back without looking at her. They threw their jackets on her to cover her up, and they ran away. I said to myself, if that's how yeshiva guys behave, I'm going to be a yeshiva guy. And so this is what they did. They come walking backwards to cover Noach up. They come in backwards so that they shouldn't see the father's nakedness. Now, Noach makes a declaration, which is not politically correct, but Noach wasn't a politician. So Noach is going to make a declaration, which is, again, the history of the world. Vayiketz Noach miyeno, Noach wakes up, Vayedas asher asalo beno hakoton. He knows what his youngest son has done to him. According to some, he wasn't the youngest, he was the worst. Vayomer orur Canaan. Canaan is cursed. Eved avodim yelechav. The descendants of Canaan are going to be slaves. Now, this is generally understood as Noach declaring a curse on Canaan. Rav Hirsch says it wasn't a curse. It wasn't cursing him. He was saying what is. The essence, that means, if Canaan, Cham, the Cham-Canaan combination, what did Cham do? Noach is lying there naked in the tent. Say, the mature thing to do is go pick up a towel, pick up a blanket, and cover him up. What does he got to run out to his brothers for? Like, hey guys, you're not going to believe this. Look at that. Go do something about it. What's the maturity? Why are you so immature about it? We all know what goes on. What are you so immature about? What's a slave? A slave is somebody who, what's a child? A child is somebody who needs supervision. If he does not have supervision, then he's going to hurt himself. A child needs to be supervised. Noach is saying the essence of Canaan is that he's a slave, meaning he needs supervision. If left to his own devices, he's not going to succeed in life. He needs to be supervised. And that's he's not cursing him. He's declaring this is the essence. And if they do not abide by that, your nature, you're going to be left on your own. It's not going to work well. It's just your society is not going to, whoever the descendants of Canaan are. Whoever the descendants of Canaan are, the Torah doesn't say who the descendants of Cham and Canaan are, but whoever the descendants of Cham and Canaan are, do not do well on their own. They need supervision, because when left to their own devices, things do not go well. Yeah, what were we going to ask, Mayor?
Just want to ask you about when Abraham also refused to get spoils with the king of Sodom.
Yeah.
Well, so there's also a merit for tzitzis there and tefillin or something like that.
It could be a continuation in the but the sroch now. Right. He gets the strings of the tzitzis. So it could be more than one. You're also involved in the line. However that works. But whatever it is, you see you see the potency. You see the potency of getting involved. You got involved. Get involved. Do it. You see the opportunity, do it. That's the what. Okay, now let's go to the Tower of Bavel, because this is pretty enchanting. The Tower of Bavel is really, I've always been enchanted by this. On page 48. I've always been enchanted by this. It says, "Vayhi kol haaretz safa achas udvarim achadim." 5 lines in. So the entire world was one language, and they were of one mindset. How does he translate it? One common purpose. Vayhi benasa mikedem, vayimtzu bika. They went out to a plains or the valley, be'eretz shinar v'yeshu sham. So they're out in a valley. The valley, the plains. Vayomru isha re'eu, hava nilban alavenim. Let us go and make bricks. V'nisref al burn them in the furnace. V'atihilahem, so the Torah says, V'atilam alavein alav, and the bricks became stones. V'achemer hayalam lachomer, and the mortar, the bitumen became, I don't know what bitumen is, but the material that they use, so they made mortar and bricks. Now, the first question you got to ask is, who cares? The Torah takes you 2 psukim over here to let you know what they used and how they made it. In the grand scheme of things, is it really that important? They made themselves bricks, and they used bitumen and mortar. I've never heard this word bitumen before. I've heard of vitamins, but I've never heard of bitumens, right? So whatever it is, they made it into mortar. Okay. So why is it? What's going on now? What are they going to do? Vayomru hava nivna lanu ir. Let's make a city. Umigdal, and a tower, Verosha Bashamayim, a tower reaching into the heavens. Vinasa lanu Shem, we'll make a name for ourselves. Pen nafutz al pnei chol haaretz, lest we become scattered over the entire earth. Okay, let's go on one more pasuk. Vayered Hashem liros haseirus amigdal asher banu b'nei. So Hashem comes down to see the city and the tower. V'yomer Hashem heinam echad v'saf achas hakulam. They're one nation and one language. V'zeh chelam lasos. So this is what they started to do. V'ata lo yibotzer mehem kol asher yazvu lasos. Then they won't be prevented from doing anything. Hava nirda v'nev l'sham sfasam. Let's confuse their languages. Asher lo yishmeu ish sfas re'eu. That no one should understand each other. Vayafetz Hashem osa misham al pnei kol haaretz. Hashem scattered them. Vayachdu livno sa'ir. And they stopped building the city. None of this makes sense, start to finish. Start to finish doesn't make sense. First of all, Rashi says that what they were worried about, if you take a look at the Rashi on Pasuk Fourth line from the top, right column. Why were they doing this? Fourth line from the top, right column. Amru, they said, Achas la'elef v'tarnu shonim. Every 1,656 years, harakia mismote, the heaven collapses, kishem she'asa b'mei hamabel, just like at the time of the flood. Bo v'nasa lo samochos. Let's go make supports for the heaven. Every 1,656 years, the heavens gets wobbly, supports, and under the weight of the water, it comes down and you have a flood. Let's flood prevention. Let's do some flood prevention. We'll build towers. It's like, what's her name? What's that? Taylor Green? What's that politician's name? Something Taylor Green, the one always saying dumb things. She said, well, they have ways of stopping hurricanes. It was Hurricane Milton. What's her? You know what I'm talking about? She's from Georgia, I think.
She was a very big Trump supporter.
Something Taylor Green. And she said, well, they have ways of stopping. They could stop the hurricanes if they wanted to. She doesn't say who they is. I'm not sure who they is, but that's what she said.
She's in this like fictitious group.
All this stuff, yeah. She's a nutcase. So she what do you call it? Everyone's first of all, you know. I don't know exactly what kind of supports you're going to use for the heaven. These people weren't idiots. What does that mean? Every 1,656 years, the heavens collapses, number one. Number two, how many floods have there been? One. That's not a great list of data to base conclusions on. Well, since the world was created, it happened once every 1,656 years. So that which shows you how people could distort data, number one. But number two, what they're really saying is it was all nature. It was all nature. It was just a natural occurrence. It had nothing to do with God. It had nothing to do with mankind sinning. The flood wasn't because man sinned. The flood is because nature, the heavens collapse every once in a while. So we're going to put a stop to that, which is a step wrong, the first wrong step. The first wrong step is that you should draw the right conclusions. Why did it happen? It happened because he sinned. If you attribute it and ascribe everything to nature, so you're never going to get your act together. That's the first problem. Problem number two is who cares about these bricks? Who cares about it? They made bricks, they did the bricks, and they put them in a furnace, and so on and so forth. The answer is like this. When I was at one of the first midrashim we learned when we were little kids, is that when they built the Tower of Bavel, so they were building this big tower, and if a human being fell and died, so then nobody cared. But if the brick fell, so everybody cried. If a brick fell and it broke, everybody cried. That was the Midrash. That's what the Midrash says. You ever hear that Midrash? What, again, we're talking about fools? What does it mean? What's going on? The answer is, what I understand is the space shuttle blew up. What was the first space shuttle called? Discovery. Second was Voyager. Okay, Discovery. You want to go discover? Gesundheit. Voyager went up there. Okay. Yeah. What was the third one called? Remember what it was called? Challenger. Challenger? You're challenging? Who are you challenging? Who are you challenging? Had a Rebbe once told me, Hashem lets you voyage and lets you discover. He does not let you challenge. It's just interesting. I'm not making any claims. It's interesting. Okay, so Challenger, the challenge was declined. Okay. But if you stop and think about it, 7 people died, I think, when Challenger blew up. Okay. And the head of NASA comes out and he says, we're terrible loss of life, blah, 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 gives the whole speech. If you could get the head of NASA in a room alone and put him on a lie detector and ask him, what are you really upset about? The people or the NASA space program? In a moment of truth, what do you think he's really upset about? People? Yeah, I'm sure he's upset. What's he really upset about? His entire space program in advance of technology has just been set back. The Torah here is talking about mankind's advances in technology. Up until this point, you took stones and you built using stones. They came up with a way of doing it on their own. Take bricks, put them in a furnace. Now you have bricks. We don't need to rely on God. We can use man's initiative, technological advance. When a brick falls and it breaks, what does it really mean? We don't build the big bricks properly. That means that our technological advance is not where we want it to be. That's what they're upset about. They're crying about the broken bricks, means they're crying that we haven't gotten as far as we wanted to. There's a setback to the space program. That's what they're crying about. And what was their goal? Their goal is we're going to unite as one. Well, if we unite as one, all mankind is going to be what he called the European Union, which still hasn't worked. The European Union, we're all one. No, you're not one. And that's why the Midrash says that Hashem mixes up their languages, and they started killing each other. One guy would ask for a brick, the other guy would give him a hammer because he didn't understand what he wanted, so they start fighting with each other. Well, again, we're not talking about children over here. We're talking about little kids, not children. The answer is that the nature of mankind, if you're united, there's going to be trouble. And the nature of the world is that there's going to be different nations, and no nations are the same, in spite of all the liberals. We're not blind to race, color, and creed. We are very sensitive to race, color, and creed, especially when you're Jewish, because then you're the ones who are always on the races because the Jews are being chased. That's what it's called, the Jewish race, because we're the ones who are always under the gun. Sure. So now, I saw one of them before. It says something stunning here. It's unbelievable. What is God's real objection? What is God's real objection over here? His objection is that if mankind, you know why Jews have survived for so long? You know why Jews have survived for so long? Because we're never pooled, we're never grouped in one place. When one nation is trying to kill us, so the Jews find refuge somewhere else. There's always been one place, one or two places where people could run. If everybody is together, all the nations are together, and the world becomes one country, that means all the Jews are in one country, then the plot to kill the Jews can become successful. That's why the Gemara, there's two places where the Gemara says that there was a king, anti-Semites wanted to kill the Jews. And the objection was twofold. Number one, you will never get all the Jews because the Jews are scattered all over the world. You know the story of these two Jewish guys. These two Jewish guys go to some exotic island out in the who knows where, and they're watching this ancient. They're the guys are traveling the world. These two Jewish guys, and they have like this tribe, some Aborigine tribe or something. And they're doing some sort of tribal ceremony, and the medicine man is all painted up, and he's doing a dance around the fire, and these two guys are watching this medicine man dance around and these two guys are standing there. One of the guys turns to the other guy and says to him in Yiddish, he goes, "Wow, if my mother could see me now." And just then the medicine man dances past them and he says to them in Yiddish, "If my mother could see me now." They're all everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a Jew. They're scattered. That was the bracha. And here the danger is that if everybody is together, then the danger is that they're all going to be, then there's no refuge for the Jews. Now, you know that the Midrash says 1/3 of the people died, 1/3 were scattered, and 1/3 were turned into monkeys. You know that? 1/3 of the people were turned into monkeys. I think there's a source that says monkeys and elephants. That's why the Gemara in Brachas says that when you see monkeys and elephants, they're supposed to make a bracha mishana habrios. You ever hear that bracha mishana habrios, that God made strange creatures? The Gemara says if you see monkeys and elephants, you make a bracha mishana habrios. So I always had a question. Rhinoceroses are not gorgeous either. Why just monkeys? Why are you picking on monkeys and elephants? Why rhinoceroses? And I can think of a few other things. Why monkeys and elephants? Say the Melechas Shlomo is one of the commentaries. The Melechas Shlomo says, because Mishana Habrios means not only that they are different, they were changed. That means they are the monkeys and elephants were from the original, they're from the Tower of Bavel. They were humans who were changed into monkeys and elephants. And therefore you make the bracha Mishana Habrios. That's what the Melechas Shlomo says. Whatever the case is, we have no source that monkeys became human beings. We do have a source that human beings became monkeys. So much for So much for Mr. Darwin. Right, that takes care of him. Next. And by the way, the penicillin guy, the penicillin guy is Alexander Fleming. The doctor, thank you, Bob. Dr. sent me again an email. That's his first name is Alexander. So that's his friend. But he is very impressed by the group. He says, you guys are a very high level group. So I just kind of, all right, if you say so. If anybody's watching, by the way, on Torah Anytime, I will be in England, in the UK, on starting on December 5th. I'll be in in England, the UK, for about 10 days. If anybody's interested in a shiur or a talk, please contact either Rabbi Reuven Stepsky, who, if you, I'm sure you know him. If you live in England, you know him. Rabbi Stepsky. If you're in Manchester, Rabbi Aviv Bar Ilan, if you're interested in setting something up. Anyway, that's any questions?
You're leaving us?
We got in a month. I'll be there for 10 days. All right, Shabbos, guys.